I am back with more of your emails. So I've been really enjoying these. Please, if you've got a funny story or just a story, if you've got a question, if you're in some kind of dilemma that's Australia related, send your email to hello@thebamfamalam.com and I will do my best to read those out and give you my answers to your questions and laugh with you at your embarrassing stories. Without further ado, oh my gosh, this one. The subject is, tell my husband to get a move on. I kind of brought out my inner nana there, how I thought my nana would say that. Hi guys, we have been following you on Instagram and think you're all great. My husband and me started our application through the DUC group 2 years ago, and my hubby keeps panicking it won't be for us and we may not like it. Even though, no, you're never going to believe this, but even though it was his idea in the first place. I say go for it. You never know until you try. So give Henry Smith, Henry, that is you, a shout out and tell him how amazing it is for you as a family and to pull his finger out and get me to Oz. Take care. Impatient wife, aka Jade Smith. I love your email, Jade. And I love your certain level of aggression because I feel that's probably what you're needing with Henry. So Henry, if you're watching, I think the amazing thing is about moving to Australia, nothing is forever. You can change your mind. You could come for 5 years to see if you like it. To be honest, I reckon once you settle in, you'll be fine. It's just a case of settling in. And I think it's the uprooting and probably the fear of the unknown that's making you kind of, I don't know, take a back step. But just imagine, so I don't know if you've not got visas. You started the application. Okay. So I'm guessing your application hasn't been sent off. I think you should. Because do you know what? In a year's time, your occupation might be off the list and you might have lost your chance. And then you're going to look back in 20 years and go, oh, we could have gone to Australia, you know, we could have done something really amazing. And I procrastinated, essentially, because that's all it is. By the sounds of it, it was your idea in the first place, so you want to do it, but there's something blocking you, so maybe a bit of fear. Some people just aren't good at these things. Maybe let Jade take over the application process. Maybe let her do the hard work. Sorry, Jade. Just trying to get you out here. Maybe let Jade take over the process. That, you know, if that's stressing you out, then you don't need to worry about that bit. What else could we do about Henry? Apart from telling you, Henry, pull your finger out. Oh my God. Do you know, it's funny. Ben told me, I think this was a few years now, Ben told me never, ever give relationship advice to people. I think he meant advice generally. Yeah, Henry, I think maybe let Jade take over the process, let her go all guns blazing at it. You just need to get on the plane, essentially. If you're worried about it, just say, okay, in 5 years, if we really hate it, we'll come back, but we'll give it a go. You don't want that to be something you regret down the line. Anyway, thank you, Jade, for your very amusing email. Much love. I've got an email from Roxanne, and the email subject is a rant that was longer than intended. And I know why you say that, Roxanne, because it's a 2-page long rant. I should have put this on its own episode, but bear with. Hi there, Roxanne from South Africa here. I've watched just about every video you guys have posted on YouTube. Great stuff, by the way. What you're posting is making a difference and is offering support to a lot of people wanting to make the move. Thank you, Roxanne. I tell you what, when we hear those kind of things, honestly, it melts our hearts. Like, I don't want to sound corny or cheesy or whatever, but when we get those kind of emails, knowing that we're helping people, it really drives us to do more for you. I saw your post on YouTube with your email address listed and thought, hey, why not? I don't know if that's your voice. That's definitely not your voice. I don't have a YouTube channel, but I can imagine as creators in the space, it's mind-boggling to recognise that every view count on your video represents at least one real, actual living person somewhere in the world. By the same token, it's equally as strange for me. I've watched as many of your videos, it feels almost as though I know you guys. Friends almost. As strange and borderline creepy, that is to say. Well, I feel like we've gone one step further because we've actually made everybody who watches us part of the family. You are part of the BAM Famalam. If you watch us, you're part of the fam. Seeing as though I've heard your story, I thought I'd share mine. I do have some questions for you at the end, and if you have the time and interest, I would love to hear your take on. I'm here for the long haul, Roxanne. As I mentioned, my name is Roxanne and I'm 26 years old, born and raised in Benoni, South Africa. I'm really sorry, I'm not going to try and pronounce the one in the middle because I'll probably balls that up. I'm married to a bloke by the name of Darius. He'll be 30 this year. Darius and I started going out in 2015, and by the end of 2016, talks of emigration started. He, at that time, was not particularly interested in the prospect of moving overseas. I've just realised when I'm doing that, I've got like 3 chins and I'm doing that on YouTube. I, on the other hand, have always had it in my head that someday I would emigrate. For me, personal safety has always been my number one why. I had a cousin who was shot dead for his wife's handbag. Oh my God. Oh, okay, that took an awful turn. I'm really sorry, Roxanne. Oh my God, I'm going to cry on camera. Oh my gosh, this is awful. Do you know, I don't read these. I don't want to cry on camera. I don't read these before I read them out here because I want you to get my genuine reaction, not this reaction. This is not the reaction I wanted you to have. But anyway, I'm gonna progress. So just to say, I would be absolutely rubbish in the royal family because I show way too much emotion. The home, oh my gosh, I've got a leaky eye. Ah! The home I grew up in was broken into more times than I can count, and car hijackings are something of the norm. Not sure if you had them in the UK, absolutely not. But in South Africa, having car guards outside of every shopping centre, mall or park is very much standard. God, this is awful. We have dogs as security, not pets as a general rule. I could go on for hours, but I think you get the gist. I mean, I've got to say, Roxanne, that I don't think, I mean, we've got 3 dogs. They're definitely not security, although they do think they are. Sorry, I've just got to make that a little bit light-hearted so I don't cry through the rest of your email. In addition to the crime and political unrest, unfortunately, with the current trajectory of South Africa's economy, many young South Africans, including Darius and myself, feel we don't have a choice. Let me just take my eye. Sorry, I'm just worried about dripping mascara. Long story short, by March 2017, we had our expression of interest for subclass 190 and 189 submitted. Darius, being an electrical engineer with about 75 points, was the main applicant. Everyone always talks about, oh wow, an engineer, Australia will snatch you up in no time. While I'm sure that is the case for some, it was not the case for us. We only got our invitation on the 6th of October 2022. The wait has been really long and Darius and I have never really been able to settle down. Why buy a new car when you're planning to emigrate, become a homeowner? What's the point? Even having kids is a tough one. We've spent the last 6 years with our feet in 2 different countries. Do you know, I think that's the same for anyone moving over. There's a level of limbo that you live in until you actually make the move. No one really talks about the phases you go through while waiting for your fate. One day you are so dead set on leaving, wanting to board a plane that very instant, and the next you're questioning how you could ever leave your friends, family and everything you've ever known. Darius and I still to this day experience those ups and downs. At some stage in mid-21, we got so desperate that we applied to emigrate to New Zealand and Canada, hired international recruiters, applied for regional short-term stay visas and considered job hunting on a tourist visa. We figured that we would give it a all for 1 year, and if it didn't work then we would agree to settle in South Africa. We discussed and semi-agreed to call it quits in July 22. And I could not make this up. Got our 189 invite 2 weeks later. Mixed emotions is a gross understatement. My gosh, you poor things, that's such a blimmin' long time. I really hate to sound ungrateful. After all, the 189 is the holy grail of visas. PR on arrival, work in any industry or state, citizenship after 4 years, etc. But for us, this really complicates things. On one hand, after such a long wait, I could not help but feel somewhat honoured. It felt as if the Prime Minister... Okay, you're bringing the fun back to this. It felt as if the Prime Minister himself picked up our expression of interest out and said, I like the look of these two. I think I'll send them an invite. Does that sound ridiculous? That is exactly how I speak. And to be honest with you, Roxanne, I really liked that line. However, because we had the idea we would be settling in South Africa, we had started house hunting, planning our family and all the other fun stuff that comes with being a newlywed couple. I should probably also mention our reason for wanting to stay. Family and standard of living are basically it. Friends and family is a really big one. We both come from huge, tightly knit families, aunts, uncles, nieces and nephews galore. Oh, I know it's hard. Okay, standard of living. As mentioned, my husband and I have been house hunting. The fact is we will never be able to afford a house in Australia that is on the same level as we can afford in South Africa. The house we were looking at, oh, okay, that's all in different currency and there's a link. Okay, so basically they're looking at a really nice house in South Africa. I can't click on the link because it's a piece of paper. But I get it, I get it. If we don't want to deal with load shedding, okay, these are electricity and, oh my gosh, these are electricity and water blackouts that South Africa has for up to 10 hours a day. We have the weather for solar panels. Okay, so there's an option, so you're not stuck without electric for 10 hours of flipping egg. That's awful. Additionally, almost every suburban household can afford a daily living cleaner and a nanny. We have gardeners and even petrol attendants at fuel stations. I, coming up in a middle-class household, have never had to come home to an untidy house or a pile of laundry to do. Something I'll have to deal with if we make the move. Yes. Yes, it is. You've got some good reason for staying. To be honest, your home doesn't matter. You know, if you're not safe, which I'm guessing South Africa hasn't changed since you first wanted to move to Australia, it doesn't matter what house you live in. You could live in a palace, but you're better off living in a 2-bedroom flat elsewhere if you're safer. So, I don't know, I'm not really a materialistic person. Don't get me wrong, I like nice things, but I couldn't give a rat's if I had the best house on the block or if I lived in a 1-bedroom flat. I don't really care about those things. Having a cleaner and a nanny is something I've never had, so I mean, I could see it could be kind of helpful, but to be honest, we just get on with things, you know, you deal with what you've got and you just get on with it. As I type this, it's been 76 days since our lodgement. We're doing it, I think. We said we would make a final decision based on the answer we get from DHA, the Department of Home Affairs. We should be hearing any day now, and that brings me to my questions. Okay, here we go. Number one. Do you not sometimes feel you have robbed your parents of relationships with your kids and vice versa? I'm not convinced that FaceTime and Zoom allows the same connection. Do you feel the same? My parents had passed away before we moved, and Ben's mum and stepdad were still around, but Ben's mum passed away a couple of years after we moved here. However, in that meantime, she did actually come and visit a few times, and the phone calls that she had, like on a few times a week with our children, were absolutely incredible, and it didn't feel like she wasn't with us. I had those same concerns before we moved. In fact, I cried my eyes out one day worrying about my mother-in-law, thinking how hard it will be for her and for the children because they had such an amazing relationship. However, she told us she wanted us to go and do the best for ourselves, and she encouraged us to make the move. And genuinely, because she used to come and visit us, I didn't feel like we didn't have her. She was just as much a part of our life when we were here as she was when we were in England. Number 2, I have an older brother who emigrated to Stone in Staffordshire in 2019. He often says he feels disconnected from his family in South Africa. We speak on the phone, yet he still feels this way. Can you relate? I don't feel disconnected. I just find FaceTime, because you see people's faces, I really don't feel like there's a disconnect. And yeah, no, I don't get that. And then, but when you do see your family, when you visit again, it's like you've never been apart. So to me, it's not an issue. I don't know. Some people it will be, but to me, it's never been an issue, and to Ben as well. Number 3. On a serious note, how close have you been to coming home? We haven't. We have never ever thought we want to go back. It's not even crossed our minds. We're happy, this is our home. We can visit people, they can visit us, we can phone them. That's not a problem. Number 4, they say divorce after immigration is common. Did the immigration process take a strain on your marriage? Oh, it did. So I don't know if it was just it was the immigration process. It was really hard. Not the actual process before we left, but when we got here, it did take us 3 years to settle in. And there were some really stressful moments. And I mean, we had children, so don't, so it might be a lot easier when you don't have children, I don't know. But we had 3 kids and no cleaner. We did a video about that, so I'll link that there for you. You can have a watch of it. There were moments that were definitely stressful, and we got through it. But I think one thing to bear in mind is that if you're not on good terms to begin with, but it sounds like you and Darius are, but for people who are not on good terms before immigration, don't do it, because it does put a strain. It does put extra stresses on you. So if you're not in a good place together before you move, it's not going to end well. But if you're in a good place, then, and your relationship's good, then I don't see any reason why not. Oh, there's quite a few goodies here. Number 5, how did you deal with family members who are not supportive? Thankfully, the majority of our family were absolutely lovely. There were the odd one who weren't. We just didn't go to them for their opinion. We cut everything off. As far as we're concerned, we confide in people who we trust and who want the best for us. But when there's an inkling or someone tries to force their opinion on us, we just won't go to them for any further advice, and we'll just cut the conversation there. And if we want to continue a relationship with them, we just talk to them about other things. But we certainly don't entertain people who get judgy with us. We're not interested. That's how we deal with that. I just haven't got time for people who aren't supportive. So yeah, it's cutthroat, but it is what it is. Number 6, there were a few grey areas with our application due to my English test not being valid on the date of the invitation. Sorry, just remembering, chin up. No triple chins to see here. Sorry. Back to you, Roxanne. There are a few grey areas of our application due to my English test not being valid on the date of invitation, so there is a possibility we are refused. Do you think it's normal to think that refusal would be a relief? Oh, Roxanne! Oh my gosh, you're so in 2 places, aren't you? Because then it's out of our hands. We don't have to make any more decisions. Go and get another English test done, Roxanne, and just upload it. Just upload it onto your application, give yourself a chance. I don't know if they would just ask you to do another one. They might just ask you to do another one. Just go and do it. If you know it's out of date, go and do it. Don't spend all of that money to have your chance taken away from you. If once you get your approval, you don't want to move, then that's fine, but don't take that chance away from yourself. Number 7, I'm not sure you'll be able to relate to this one, but I'll ask anyway. There are tons of South Africans who have made the move over. There sure are. And there's actually heaps of South Africans where we live. I've got lots of good friends here who are South African. They tend to settle in Perth. Not all of them. There's lots of Poms in Perth as well. As a result, there are huge communities of Saffers. I didn't know that that's what South Africans called themselves, but I like that. I'm worried that if we move to those areas, we will never fully assimilate to Aussie culture and therefore never feel 100% settled. Do you tend to hang around with Brits? Have you had much to do with Saffers? Yes, we have. If so, what do you reckon the Aussie attitude is towards us? There's one key thing that you wrote in this, which is going to determine what the Aussies think of you. And that was about wanting to assimilate to Aussie culture. That is what the Aussies will admire you for. So they don't really think too much of people that don't join in and try and get into Aussie culture. They want you to. And that's something that's important when you move here. I mean, we have some British friends, to be honest. The majority of our friends here are not British. They're either Aussies or from somewhere else. So a lot of different nationalities that we've made friendships with. You don't tend to stick to your own. I mean, you can have other South African friends. It makes no odds, but there's plenty of people. You don't need to stick to one or the other. Like, you can be friends with everyone. All right, I think that's it for now. If you have made it this far, thank you for reading. You are welcome. I enjoyed this one. I did not mean for it to be this long. I know, I can tell that from your subject. That was so funny. Again, thank you for the content you make on YouTube. I wish I could explain the comfort it brings. You are very welcome. Keep on doing what you're doing. I'll be following every step. Your #1 South African fan, Roxanne. Roxanne, that was an absolute BAMing pleasure. So thank you so much for your email, and I really hope that I helped with your questions. Anywho, you have used up nearly the whole episode to yourself. Just kidding, that's really funny. Anywho, thank you so much. Now, if you're moving to Australia, then have a look at the books that we've written for you. We're going to take you through every step from when you first think of moving to Australia to when you arrive and to get you settled. You can download our ebooks by following the link in the description or heading straight to the website, thebamfamalam.com. Also, while I'm here, I want to hear your stories. I want to hear anything funny. Funny ones are good. I haven't had too many funny ones yet. I want to hear your funny stories. I want to hear your stories. I want to hear your quandaries. Whether you're thinking of moving to Australia, whether you're actually making the move, or whether you're already here, or you're an Australian who's got funny stories about all of us expats coming over. I want to hear your Australia-related stories and emails. So email them in to hello@thebamfamalam.com. I really look forward to reading those. See you next time.